Alright, today we're going to start Unit 9.1, Finding Inverses Algebraically. You guys follow along with the notes that you're given today in class, and we'll go through a few examples and make sure everyone is on the same page before class tomorrow. Okay, here's your inverse notes. When you go through and find an equation, the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure that you switch your y and your x values. Okay, or your variables. So when you go through and you switch those, for example, you have the y is equal to 3x plus 5 here. When you switch your variables, it comes out as x is equal to 3y plus 5. One thing we need to pay attention to is a lot of times you'll see a function start out with an f of x. That is the same thing as if they had just put a y at the very beginning. So if you see f of x at the beginning, you guys can go ahead and just substitute a y in for that. That way you can see the form here. Okay, once you switch your x and your y, you're going to solve for your y variable. Okay, that means that the y is equal to something. Y is completely by itself. And when we write this, your inverse notation, it's telling you is f inverse of x. That's what this means right here. F inverse of x. When you see this, you know you're trying to find the inverse of whatever the function is that comes up next. Okay, so let's look at this example. First step you need to do is you need to switch your x and your y. So if I go off of this equation, I'm going to take my x over here. I'm going to substitute my y on this side. Now what I need to do is solve for y. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides. Ignore the bell there. Subtract 5 on both sides to where now I have an x minus 5 is equal to 3y. Now what I need to do is I need to go through and divide by 3 on both sides. Make sure you're dividing everything on the left by 3. This will cancel out to where your new one will look like this. Now, this x over 3 here is the same thing when it comes to your writing it in slope-intercept form as writing it as a 1/3 x. And your fraction over here stays the same. So now the inverse of y is equal to 3x plus 5 is y is equal to 1/3 x minus 5/3. And that's your final answer there. So you could go ahead and circle that on your paper so you know that that's your final. Okay, let's look at the next example real quick. Okay, next example. Like I said before, if you see the f of x, you know that is the same as saying y. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute that in right away. So now I have it rewritten. Now I need to switch my variables, get my x over here by itself. I have a negative 2y plus 7 over here. Now I need to subtract my 7 from both sides. So I have my x minus 7 is equal to negative 2y. Divide both sides by negative 2. That will cancel out over here to where I have y by myself. So I've gone through all my steps fine. Now I just want to make sure I'm simplifying the section over here. So I end up getting a negative 1/2 x. And it becomes a positive 7 over 2 because I had a negative on a negative here. With the negative 7 and negative 2 becomes a positive. So my inverse is going to be right here. Okay, so that's how we would do finding the inverse of a simple linear equation using algebraic method. So what we're going to go through is you guys need to go through and do this example. Remember, f of x switches out to a y. You guys go ahead and solve this out for me. When you're done with that, you'll turn it in tomorrow with your notes, and we'll be ready to go for class. You guys have a good night, and we'll see you later.